Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm King Sway, and yeah, I know we've been on a kill count kick, but I'm gonna start. I'm gonna try and stay on top of like kill counts and death battles and a lot of other things. But kill count seems to be coming out with something like two, three, four times a week. So as a reaction channel, you gotta stay on top of what a lot of people find interesting. Hopefully, you guys enjoy it. But yeah, we got Stranger Things 2 from 2017, part 1 of 2 from the kill count. So we're going to jump into this. No, I do not have Princess Sway with me, as she is with her mother. I'm going to cry. But let's jump into this.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror media. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at the second season of Stranger Things, released to Netflix in 2017. After the enormous success of the first season of Stranger Things, Netflix immediately ordered a second from the writer-director duo Matt and Ross Duffer. Though the twin brothers had originally considered making the show an anthology series or doing a big time jump to see the characters as adults, a la It, they realized that what made the people fall in love with the show was their cast of kid actors, so they brought them all back and kept the story chug-a-luggin'. Stranger Things 2 takes place about a year after the first season, and primarily focuses on the upside-down stowaway that came to our world through Will Byers, a plotline hinted at in the closing moments of the Season 1 finale. The season also sees Eleven, now in the care of Chief Hopper, becoming more independent and wanting to learn more about her backstory, which leads to the most divisive episode of the entire series in Chapter 7, The Lost Sister. For the most part, I felt like Stranger Things 2 was a serviceable and slightly darker follow-up to the first season. It didn't feel quite as special, but that's not surprising. Hard to capture that same sense of wonder a second time. If I had a complaint, it'd be that it feels like it loves itself a bit too much. Unlike the more earnest and unproven first season, this is now a show that knows it's big and popular, and knows that its characters are beloved. That's how we end up with a ton of sweeping group shots that feel like album covers to me. But I get it. I would also be quite proud if Stranger Things were my show. Instead, my show's the kill count, and that's fine too. So while there are
be proud of that. You know the numbers you get, cuz?
And Mike Wheeler spends most of the season being a whiny turd, the new characters, from the spunky Max to the wholesome Bob to the downright terrifying Billy, bring a freshness to the show that helps carry this season through its extended runtime. Mostly, though, it's just nice to hang out in Hawkins again. Reminder that in my video
I miss arcades.
Season 1, I talked a lot about casting crew members.
I remember saying something about them
Since I don't want to repeat too much
Slayer Gaming
be sure to watch those
in a previous video
behind the show. Now it's time to head back to Hawkins and see how many kills we find there. The season begins in the city, Pittsburgh to be exact, almost a year after the events of Season 1. An alarm bell signals that we're witnessing a crime, one committed by masked 80s punks rocking classic 80s punk hair. This diverse group of misfits flees the police in their van, but when they just can't seem to shake them, their leader, named Callie, directs driver Mick towards a tunnel, then closes her eyes for a shakalaka, comma, boom. It crumbles a bridge that stops the cops, even though it didn't actually happen. Turns out Callie only made them perceive that the bridge had fallen apart, and all it took for her to do it was one little nosebleed. Say, that nosebleed and that wrist tattoo look mighty familiar. Almost as familiar as this title card! I said the thing. Y'all just love it, don't you? It's Halloween time in Hawkins, Indiana, which is as good a time as any to hit up the Palace Arcade. It's here that our favorite foursome,
Dragon's Lair,
Mike Wheeler, Dustin Henderson, and Lucas,
that's the reason why I love this show.
Dragon's Lair,
I was born in the 80s.
That was probably the most popular of 1983, and not exactly because of its gameplay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dustin's dirt gets burnt, but that's not as bad as finding out he no longer has the high score on Dig Dug. That spot's been taken by someone named Mad Max. Will Byers is still feeling the effects of his sojourn to another dimension, occasionally seeing himself back inside the Upside Down.
That sucks.
But calm down, you scared little bastard. This hellish vision is just a hallucination. In reality, Will's feet are still right side up. His peers at school haven't forgotten about the time he was declared dead, and their bullying makes it hard for Will to enjoy a presentation about the human brain by their science teacher, Mr. Clark.
The AV guy.
Is interrupted by a new student's arrival who was just dropped off by her scorpion of a stepbrother. Oh, and the ladies of Hawkins High are mighty fond of that boy Stinger.
Would you check out that ass? Just look at it go.
The
What
new student
ass?
from California.
Do some
is
squats,
Max
homie.
Mayfield, played by Sadie Sink, who once sucker punched David Cross in an episode of Kimmy Schmidt.
Knockout game.
Oh! Ow!
He didn't go down.
The boys realize that Max must be Mad Max of Dig Dug fame, so they scope out this high-scoring skateboarder at lunch, though their spying efforts don't go unnoticed.
Stop spying on me, creeps. Well, shit.
Creeps? Come on, Max. Would a creep wait outside the arcade and watch for you through binoculars? Actually, don't answer that.
He will not be able to resist these pearls.
You're making it worse, Dusty. Dustin's new teeth for this season are actually a fake set, since actor Gaten Matarazzo's real front teeth still hadn't come in by time of production. The
Well,
pearl,
damn.
however, was all Gaten, derived from his Chewbacca impression.
It starts off with my Chewie impression.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the Chewie. Me, my Chewie impression.
Yeah.
It needs a little work.
Dustin and Lucas watch as Max is dropped off by her stepbrother, with whom she doesn't have the best relationship, and it becomes
Obviously.
apparent real fast that this season about to have a love triangle.
Mad Max.
After a montage that screams, "This is 1984," even though it's anachronistically scored by a 1985 Oingo Boingo song, we wind up at Melville's General Store in Hawkins Square, where Joyce Byers still works. What's new in her life, though, is a boyfriend named Bob Newby, played by Best Hobbit Sean Astin, in a
I was just about to say the
casting
Hobbits.
that fuels the show's 80s nostalgia.
Screw your Goonies.
His role in the Goonies.
Oh,
And I'll tell you right
just-
now, I fucking love Bob Newby, even if we have different tastes when it comes to movies.
Tell Jonathan not to pick anything scary. I hate scary movies.
Joyce picks up Will from school for an appointment at Hawkins' lab, where they're joined by Police Chief Jim Hopper in all his protective paternal glory. At the lab, they speak with the new head scientist there, Dr. Sam Owens, played by Paul Reiser, another 80s nostalgia cast.
I wanna keep making
thanks
Mina
to his
jokes
role
and
in
Dracula
Aliens
jokes, but-
as the smarmy, duplicitous company man Burke. His casting was also meant to make you immediately distrust this character.
The minute, I show up in season 2, the audience is going, yeah, this is not going to go well.
Will tells Owens, and unknowingly some cigarette-smoking scary guys, that he's been having flashes to the Upside Down, where he feels an evil presence watching him and waiting to kill everyone. Owens brushes it off, though, and says it's probably just trauma, since they're coming up on the anniversary of Will's demo-dodging last
Trauma
year,
my
which,
ass.
of course, came about thanks to an upside-down gate inadvertently opened by Eleven, which continues to be a problem to this very damn day. Burn it with fire!
I was just about to say,
Nancy
burn
Wheeler
it,
and Steve
burn it,
Harrington
burn it with fire.
fighting, but that doesn't stop her from being friends with Jonathan Byers and inviting him to a Halloween party so he won't stay inside by himself all night.
You're gonna be home by 8. Listening to the Talking Heads.
Excuse me, Nancy. The name of the band is Talking Heads. She and Steve visit the home of Barb Holland, whose parents are still obsessing over the disappearance of their daughter. Since Nancy and Steve aren't allowed to tell them the whole upside-downy truth, they've decided to put their house up for sale to hire private investigator Murray Bowman, who's played by comedian Brett Gelman, and who was seen earlier talking to Chief Hopper about the possibility of Russian spies in Hawkins.
I'm talking multiple reports now. Multiple reports, okay, of a Russian child in Hawkins.
A child? What are you talking about, a child?
A girl who may have psionic abilities.
Nancy's guilt is so heavy that it gives her bathroom breakdowns, and I love that they deal with the fallout from Barb's death in this season. Helps make it feel consequential. Their dilemma is totally believable too, as Steve later points out to Nancy that they're powerless against the US government's cover-up.
They could put us in jail, okay? Or worse, they could destroy our families. They can do anything they want.
Yeah, things are pretty rough when you're not Uncle Sam's favorite niece or nephew. After a movie night at the Byers home, where Bob gets a fucking kick out of Mr. Mom, Will wakes up in the middle of the night and experiences another psychic transportation to the Upside Down, in a shot that serves as a direct homage to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Damn, Upside Down, your weather's
For whatever
pretty
reason, kind of
wild
reminds me of
lately.
Poltergeist.
If it has anything to do with the 50-story behemoth on the horizon there. Chief Hopper finishes a long day of investigating rotten pumpkin patches and parks his car at a cabin in the woods. He steps over tripwires and knocks a specific pattern on the door before entering, not wanting to scare the other inhabitant inside, who is revealed to be 11, now living with him and growing out her locks. Now, you may ask yourself, how did she get here? Well, after giving that Demogorgon some corporal punishment, 11 was briefly transported to the Upside Down. For these flashbacks, Eleven needed to have her short hair cut, but everyone was understandably reluctant to shave Millie Bobby Brown's head again. The solution came from the married couple managing the season's huge amount of visual effects work. Senior VFX supervisor Paul Graff and senior VFX producer Christina Graff. They oversaw the show's nearly 2,000 VFX shots, including giving Eleven a digital haircut by tracking this buzz cut to her head. I think it's pretty damn impressive. Eleven found a way out through the hole the Demogorgon made when it burst into the season 1 finale, and using her brain powers to make it more Eleven-sized, she pierced her way through the bubblegum membrane and returned to the right side up. She went back to the Wheeler home only to find it uninviting, with government agents all over the place, ensuring everyone there would stay hush-hush. At least they don't have to worry about Mike's dad, Ted.
Understood. We're all patriots in this house.
Your boots, sir.
Yeah,
Mike
bootlicking
saw Eleven
motherfucker.
through the window, she was gone before he could talk to her, fleeing into the woods until eventually winding up in Hopper's cabin. Mike's been a little sad boy ever since,
The Millennium
reminiscing
Falcon.
about Eleven and trying to call her on the radio in vain. Eleven wants to go trick-or-treating, arguing that no one would know it was her beneath a costume, but Hopper ixnays that hand play.
We don't take risks, all right? They're stupid. And?
We're not stupid.
Exactly.
Exactly.
He instead
Damn,
promised
I was-
scary movies and candy.
Look, yeah, I have
but
seen
back
seasons 1 and 2. I don't
dressing up
remember.
like a
I started on
goddamn
season 3. I haven't gotten that far.
Dustin makes it
I
feel
watch a
good.
lot of stuff.
Well, maybe not
You-
much.
you've seen my
He's
kids
still
running
really
around.
Not in the mood for his mom Karen's photo sesh. But the other boys are
But-
happy to have their costumes photo documented by Jonathan and Joyce, by Dustin's mom Claudia and their cute
It's just
kitty
certain
kids,
things
and by
parents
Lucas's
do.
unnamed mother.
I
and
don't-
his
I don't care
unimpressed
what you
sister
say.
Erica.
You are such a nerd. Shut up.
They get to the school where Mike and Lucas argue over who gets to be Bill Murray.
You're Winston. I specifically didn't agree to Winston.
Dude, I agree with Lucas. Winston sucks.
He joined the team super late. He's not funny, and he's not even a scientist.
Completely valid points. Even though nobody else wore their costumes to school, Dustin and Lucas strike up the nerve to talk to Max and show off their gadgetry. They invite her to go trick-or-treating with them that night, but it doesn't look like she's into it. Sorry, boys. Max is picked up after school by her stepbrother Billy, who you can tell is a badass because of his denim tux, the speed at which he drives his Camaro, and the Ted Nugent blaring from his speakers. He's a real scary doucher who hates Hawkins so much, he nearly runs down his residence in the middle of the road. Billy's played by the then 22-year-old Perth-born Dacre Montgomery, last seen on the kill count in a short but memorable role in Better Watch Out. Billy's irredeemable bully character is basically what Steve was supposed to be before Joe Keery charmed the Duffers into writing a bigger, more sympathetic role for him. In real life, though, Dacre Montgomery seems like a nice guy, too.
I'm not really like that. This isn't who I am.
Okay.
Right
we'll talk
now,
a little
or the
later.
character?
He says he got the role after sending in a pretty unorthodox audition tape.
It came out that I was wearing a G-string at one point or another.
You were wearing a G-string for the audition?
Part of it. I may have been. But...
I got a movie coming up. You want to send me an audition tape?
Hopper gets to work to find more rotten pumpkins on the docket. In fact, there are sites of blight all over Hawkins. And near some of these gross fly-filled gourds, Hopper finds a sticky slime all
Yeah,
over the
no.
trees. Yeah. Will's been drawing pictures of the giant Lovecraftian monster he saw, and although that's concerning to Joyce, she still allows him to go trick-or-treating. Jonathan drops him off and gives him a video camera to record his adventures, then decides to go to the party Nancy told him about, a real cool kid Halloween jamboree, where Billy's making a name for himself and inheriting Steve's old shitty friend Tommy H. Of course, that
I kinda-
just like Johnny
yeah,
Depp.
I'd
Hopper's
probably be a
Dunkin'
no.
Pumpkin investigation takes him late into
Despite the
the
fact that I am
evening,
quite the
he's gonna
jovial
go to
individual,
movie night
I don't
with
like
Beth,
big
who
gatherings like
spent the
that.
day looking out the window and thinking back to when she had to telekinetically kill squirrels for food. Mind kill. For a while, she was stuck using flying flaming squirrel meat to keep herself hidden and warm, but eventually she found the food stash Hopper kept setting out for her. Too bad the guy can't keep his Halloween promises, though. The boys are trick-or-treating when they're confronted by a shape.
Max.
Holy shit! You should have seen the look on your faces.
Yeah, it's Maxine Myers and Dustin and Lucas Lackey. They try
Myers.
to impress her with their
So
best
she goes Michael
California
Myers.
accents.
Totally tubular.
As Mike complains about the changes in their party roster. He steps away from Will, who gets teased by Wolfman and Jasons until he falls ass backwards right into the Upside Down. Damn, kid. Hope you're getting frequent flyer miles for all your trips to this place. He watches as the enormous and frankly fucking terrifying shadow monster rises up into the sky, which scares Will down some stairs until Mike finds him and teleports him back into the real world. Man, that poor little Byers boy. Nancy's not happy that Steve just wants to move past Barb's death, so she starts going hard on the Halloween party punch. By time Jonathan gets there, she's a stumbling slob with a solo cup, who only gets sloppier when Steve tries to stop her from further consumption. They go to the bathroom to clean her up, where her portrayal of drunkenness veers from completely realistic,
It's not coming out, Nancy.
It's coming.
to a tad bit over the top.
You're bullshit.
What?
You're pretending like
I remember this
everything's
scene.
okay.
Everything is
Nancy
bullshit.
basically says she doesn't love Steve, he leaves upset. Thankfully, Johnny Bye-Bye's still around to make sure she gets home safely and tucked into her Betty Bye. Hopper gets home to 11 and apologizes for being so late, but she doesn't open her bedroom door for him. She's too busy using static and a blindfold to take a trip into the void. There, she sees Mike inside his blanket fort trying to radio for her. So although she's not allowed to contact him, at least she knows he's thinking of her. That's worth a bloody nose, right? Dustin gets home from trick-or-treating to find his trash can shaking something awful. He thinks it might be his kitty Muse, but when he looks inside, he finds something that he puts in his Ghostbusters box and takes into his room. It's a little tadpole-like creature that he drops into his reptile tank. It doesn't like the heat lamp, but it does like Three Musketeers, so Dustin names the creature after the narrating friend of the Three Inseparables.
D'Artagnan.
After another flashback showing when Eleven and Hopper
Porthos,
finally met
Mythos,
up in the
Athos,
woods,
D'Artagnan.
come back to their present tension, which he
Yes,
begins to
I
ease
read the
with his
friggin' book. It was
disgustingly sweet breakfast monster.
years ago, but
He
still.
promises her that she can see Mike soon, but he's been saying that bullshit for
I was
a
the
year
geek
now,
kid in
and
school.
Eleven's sick of hearing
Read a
it.
whole bunch, played Dungeons and Dragons, did martial arts.
Lie!
Since Bob stayed the night last night, get it, Bob? He agrees to save Joyce some time by taking Will to school.
What do you say, big guy? You want to go for a ride in the Bobmobile?
Hell yeah, dude. Bobmobile it up. During the ride, Bob tells Will about Mr. Baldo, a scary clown who haunted his childhood dreams until his dream self finally stood his ground.
I said, go away. Go away!
Hope that advice works out for you, Will.
Actually, his face.
Farms with bad crops.
Actually, if you do the timeline correctly,
Radiating out from Hawkins
and
Lab. He takes these findings to Dr. Owens and tells him that
if I remember
better
correctly,
make
where
sure
he
they
was,
don't go upside
Bob,
down, leaking out the lab. Better make damn sure.
he was actually up for being attacked by it.
Keep your shit out of my town. That is the deal.
Eleven thinks back to when Hopper first took her to his grandpa's cabin and called it her new home. They made the place clean and secure, and Hopper told Eleven she'd be safe with him as long as she followed his rules. Chief among them, don't ever go out alone.
I call them the, don't be stupid rules.
Yeah, good try, Hop, but Elle's being stupid right now, stepping over tripwires to head out on her own. She comes across a mom and her kid, which reminds her of a time when she asked Hopper about her mom. When she asked if her mom was gone, Hopper said yes, which you'd probably have to fact check as mostly false.
Yeah,
depending on
technically,
how you interpret
yeah.
The word gone. Steve and
I mean,
Nancy's
she's alive, but
relationship
she
is
ain't all there.
From their fight at the party, so she talks to Jonathan instead about how guilty she feels over Barb. Seeing a kid with a tape player, Nancy comes up with an idea, so she and Jonathan go to her house and call up Barb's mom. They ask her to meet them at a public park and mention that it's possible someone's listening to their conversation.
I can't tell you here on the phone.
And of course, they're right about that. Damn, Hawkins Lab,
Duh.
you're so nosy. With a little help from her tech-inclined boyfriend, Joyce plugs their camera into the TV so she can see what Will saw on Halloween night. The tape reveals a staticky outline of a familiar shape, and when Joyce traces it, she confirms her suspicions. That there's the scary thing. During lunch, Dustin shows the gang, including Max, his new pet D'Artagnan, nicknamed Dart. He doesn't know what kind of animal Dart is, but he knows the little feller don't like heat, which is weird for a reptile. But maybe not all that weird for an upside-down slug, huh, Will? Will tells his friends that he thinks Dart came from the Upside Down, but not Max, of course. She's not allowed him to know. Mike and Lucas want to take Dart to Hopper, but Dustin's grown too attached.
We have a bond.
Like a father-son bond. And look at that little boy grow. He's reached his quadrupedal teens. Dart darts off right as Max cracks open the door, and he dips, dives, and dodges to get away from the kids. They split off to track him down, and when Mike runs into Max during their search, he straight up tells her he doesn't want her in the party. She ain't no Al. Speaking of whom, 11 gets to the school just in time to see Mike talking to another girl. So she has a cowman and knocks Max down, disappearing before Mike can figure out that Max just got telekinetic-tripped. During the search for Dart,
He wants his real girl.
the Upside Down, running down the hall from a smoke monster chasing after him. Dustin gets to Dart before the others and hides him under his hat as Mike arrives and asks, "Hey, where the heck is Will?" "Well, I'll tell you, Mike, that boy's running through the Upside Down and considering words of wisdom from inspirational football players." With Bob's Baldo-busting advice in mind, he turns around and stands his ground. Hardy little fella, if a bit screamy poopy pants face. His yelling doesn't deter the evil shadow monster though, which face hugs him in every orifice with a whole bunch of tentacles.
Hentai.
It's gross to say. The giant shadow monster, which was advertised right off the bat for this season, was designed by Paul and Christina Graff, who had matte painter Steve Messing draw a concept
My
art
cats.
that incorporated storm clouds and tornadoes.
So
into
you
the
can't
monster's
clearly see the
appearance.
thing.
For this scene, when it attacks Will's face, storyboard artist Michael Marr made concept paintings that were then filmed in an awesome way. Multiple cameras circled Noah Schnapp on a track, with one filming him in front of a green screen and another filming clean backgrounds to use behind him. Finally, effects company Hydraulics took all this concept art and turned it into the amazing visual effects.
Wish
that
I could
you
get my
see.
green screen
There
to
are a lot of
work.
people involved to bring this thing to life, but you know what they say. It takes a video village to raise a monster. Will is standing in the field, huffing shadow fumes in the Upside Down, when Joyce comes to pick him up. She takes him home, where he says he doesn't remember what happened, so Joyce breaks out the receipts and gets him to admit that he saw a scary monster, and that the scary monster is now inside of him. That's probably why his temperature is running super low, and though Joyce tries to raise it with a nice warm bath, Will the Whack reacts to it like she was looking to boil him alive.
He likes it cold.
11 gets back home late to find an irate Chief Hopper in full-on angry dad mode.
Don't walk away from me!
He yells at her for breaking his idiot rules, then tries to ground her from Egos and TV. But 11 loves Cheers, and since he just cut her off from Sam and Diane, she yells that he's no better than her papa. She openly uses her powers against him and storms into her room, her psychic temper tantrum climaxing with a window explosion, which was done practically and without a stunt double for David Harbour. The next morning, Nancy and Jonathan go to meet Barb's mom at the park as planned. When they get there, they notice people potentially spying on them. Dudes with newspapers, brightly attired joggers, kids playing games. Don't count out kid spies, they're the most ruthless. It
Yes,
ends
they
up
are.
that pretty much everyone there
Black
is
Widow.
a spy. Jury's still out on the kids. And Nancy and Jonathan find themselves caught by a bunch of G-men. They're taken to Hawkins' lab, where Dr. Owens lectures them about trying to spill their beans. He blames Brenner and the previous employees for killing Barb and upside-downing Will, and says that he's the new boss, who's not the same as the old boss. The most important thing right now is to contain the Upside Down and keep it a secret, lest the Russians find out and try to weaponize it somehow.
The more attention we bring to ourselves, the more people like the Hollands know the truth, the more likely that scenario becomes.
So quit trying to blab to people. We've got this. They let the kids go. and we see that these
STFU.
two future journalists
Before I
just
make you
keep
disappear.
recording themselves a scoop.
The ones responsible for what happened to your brother and Miss Holland's death. They're gone.
They played him. They
Evidence
wanted to
in
get
hand,
captured.
they drive out of Hawkins. After trying but failing to make amends with 11, Hopper is called to the buyer's home, where Joyce shows him her little popsicle boy Will, who says the scary shadow monster wants to keep things nice and chill. He also says he's been given memories that aren't his own, memories of death and of sliding down water slides. He's having a hard time saying what he's seeing in words, so they try to get him to draw it all out. But maybe try drawing a little better there, Will. Those are scribbles. Unable to return to where everybody knows her name, 11 reluctantly cleans the cabin until she finds a hatch in the floor that leads to a crawl space full of memories. Some fun, others undoubtedly less fun. And also one that may be relevant to her. Inside the box labeled Hawkins' lab, 11 finds a file on Terry Ives, who once had a baby Jane. Whatever happened to her? She finds a picture of Terry with her papa and takes a blindfolded visit to the moist void to see what's up. There she finds Terry in a rocking chair, murmuring something to herself over and over.
Rainbow. To the right. Forward, left.
Terry senses that 11's there and calls out her Christian name.
Jane.
leading Elle to learn a new word. Mama. Yeah, Mama. It's like Papa, only, I guess, dustier. Max is sick of being left out of all the cool conversations, so she tells Lucas she's done having friends that aren't fully friends.
I don't want to be in your stupid party anyway.
The argument is seen by Billy when he comes to pick her up, and I don't like the way he's looking at Lucas there.
There are certain type of people in this world that you stay away from.
Yeah, something tells me he doesn't mean the kind of people who rock corduroy jackets. Dustin gets home and finds that Dart is no longer in his cage. Instead, he shed some skin and is now a drippy big boy. A drippy big boy who eats cats? Aw, Dart, you fucking suck, dude. Don't give me that sass. That's a bad Dart.
Baby
The reveal of
Demogorgon.
Dart's petal mouth confirms that he came from the Upside Down. In fact, Dart the Demodog is just an adolescent Demogorgon whose 5 stages of evolution, tadpole, frog, cat, dog, and fully grown, were designed by Aaron Sims Creative, who of course did the original Demogorgon design for Season 1. The effects company Hydraulics then added texture and designed the animal's internal organs and muscle structure, which you can sometimes see during its
When-
first
yeah,
two
that- like the
stages,
frog
its
thing.
skin is still translucent. On set, they had 3D printed and silicone gel models so the actors could work with something tactile, even if it was just being pulled on a string sometimes. Other times, a marble was used as a stand-in, like when Dart was Tokyo drifting down the hallway. Will continues to draw reams of his raw dreams, and Joyce figures out that his scribbles
It's
are
a
all
map.
part of a bigger picture. She and Hop get to taping them together, leading to another Joyce Byers project that, while maybe not as iconic as the Alphabet Lightboard, is still a pretty good visual set piece for the show. These scribbles were all over the Universal maze at Halloween Horror Nights. With a closer look, Hopper realizes what's being drawn.
He's drawing vines.
So he heads to the rotten pumpkin patch, where he starts digging until he taps into hollow ground. Climbing down into this hole, he finds himself in a
Yeah,
tunnel
no.
that got all sorts of lines
nah.
of dandruff floating.
F that.
In other words, a tunnel that's looking pretty damn upside down. Joyce's latest arts and crafts project.
I remember when we did Your Next, and I said in a one-on-one scenario fighting somebody, my confidence may be the thing that gets me killed.
It's like he's reaching
In that point, knowing what I'm dealing with, I would not be confident. I would not be doing the one-on. Nah, no lone wolf nut.
Mike says maybe
No.
they can use this connection as a weapon. Will can be a sweaty spy boy that informs them about the shadow monster. You know, as long as it doesn't backfire.
What if he spies back?
Well, that would be bad. Dustin gears himself up in old hockey pads and prepares to capture Dart with bologna, the worst of all deli offerings. His trail of processed garbage meat
What's wrong
gets
with bologna?
moved out of the house, and when the little fucker figures out that something untoward is going on, Dustin has no choice but to knock his pet into a storm cellar and lock it up inside.
I'm sorry. You ate my cat.
11 gets a ride from a friendly trucker to the House of Eyes, and when her Aunt Becky doesn't let her in, not knowing who she is, 11 just ups and invites herself inside.
I want to see Mama.
She tries to talk to her mama, only to get the same jumble of words she saw her saying in the void. But after catching up with her aunt a bit, 11 realizes that Terry is trying to interact with them through flickering lights. Judging by that bloody nose, one thing is certain.
She wants to talk.
Nancy and Jonathan have left Hawkins to visit that Murray Bowman guy, who already knows their names as he welcomes them inside his Fleabag home. He's got a whole damn layer of corkboard theories about Hawkins, Will Byers, and of course Barb Holland, whose disappearance he's being paid to investigate. Little did he know, he just stumbled across a bunch of shortcuts.
The girl with the buzzed hair. She's not Russian. She's from Hawkins' lab. Her name was 11.
He worked on this story for a year, and they blurted it out. Max goes to the Palace Arcade and is tricked into meeting with Lucas, who wants to tell her about what happened in Season 1, even though it might be hazardous to her health.
You could be arrested. Possibly killed.
At first she thinks it's a made-up story meant to be a joke at her expense, but eventually his shit-your-pants seriousness convinces her he's telling the truth. Aw, glad to see them make up. Billy, he's not as happy to see it. Hopper's lost inside floating Skinflake Central, trying to find his way out using a trail of tobacco. Will sees the chief in a dream and draws the coordinates on a fresh sheet of scribbles, which Mike and Joyce match to the rest of the mess all over her walls. They don't know what it means exactly, but someone just rolled up who might be able to help them find the X.
What's at the X? Pirate treasure?
No, you goon. Bob the Brain quickly figures out that the drawings are actually a map of Hawkins.
Yeah, that's
Saddler's Quarry.
Then gets mathematical and cartographical up in this bitch to figure out the location of the X that marks the hop. Maybe just look for the picture that has a bunch of pissed off vines in it, because that's what the chief is presently struggling with.
Hentai.
Those drawings of the tunnel system, which my assistant Veronica wonderfully recreated for the set back there, were mapped out by returning production designer Chris Trujillo, who made sure the tunnel drawings actually fit into a map of Hawkins that they had created for geographical continuity. That's way more work than the showrunners of Lost were ever willing to do. Then the prop...
Yeah, it's small stuff like that that goes along, but I can't call it small stuff, because something like that, it takes a lot of effort.
Sheets of paper. They were led by prop master Linda Rice, who also did props for American Beauty. She's the one who found that beautiful plastic bag. With no one answering their radios, Dustin goes to the Wheeler house to collect Mike, only to find out that neither Wheeler child is home. Steve shows up with flowers, hoping to get back into Nancy's good graces, and since he's the only assistance available, Dustin hitches his ride to Harrington and begins the greatest goddamn relationship this show will ever give us. Fuck yes, Dustin. Dustin? Nancy and Jonathan show Murray their tape and ask him if it's enough evidence to blow the lid off of Hawkins' lab. Through some vodka and Billie Holiday, Murray lays out the problem they face. Though he believes them, the American public won't, because they like it when things are simple.
The minute someone with an ounce of authority calls bullshit, everyone will nod their heads and say, see? Ha! I knew it! It was bullshit.
Yeah, Murray's not a
And
fan
it's
of
true.
the overpowered U.S. government. His blood does not run red, white, and blue. He does not have a bald eagle heart. Together, though, he and Nancy figure out a plausible PR strategy. They can water down the accusation and, instead of talking about aliens or some shit, say that Barb was killed by a chemical exposure from Hawkins' lab.
Something scary but familiar.
Yeah, 3 cheers to radiation. At the Ives home, Eleven hops into the void so she can speak to Terry. Aw, I bet her mom will love that, huh?
No.
Okay, maybe she won't. Sorry. Through a memory montage, we see the origin of the words that Terry keeps repeating. Breathe comes from when she went into labor, wherein Dr. Brenner delivered her very much alive child. Sunflower is what she saw when she woke up and was lied to, being told her baby died. Then 3 to the right and 4 to the left were the combination needed to crack open a gun safe. She took that gun into Hawkins' lab and used it to murder a guard, shooting him in the chest. She was able to track down baby Jane/11, who was with another young girl in a room marked with a rainbow, another one of Terry's words. Finally, 450 was how many volts of electricity Doc Brenner administered during the electroshock therapy that left her how she is today.
Breathe. Sunflower. Rainbow. 450. Breathe. 3 to the right. Breathe. 4 to the left.
Damn, that is some messed up shit. Mike, Bob, and the Byerses drive to where Hopper should be based on Will's drawing. They find nasty tentacle vines in the ground, and after Joyce hacks away at them with a shovel, she and Bob hop down into the tunnel.
Are we in Will's map?
They follow Hop's trail of broken cigarettes and find him getting choked by vines, but they're able to rescue him by cutting and stabbing at the tentacle.
Yeah, dude was like, yo, are we in the map?
All of a sudden, though,
I love that.
Lab peeps show up, and after giving Hopper a second to Indiana Jones his hat, they start flamethrowing away at the vines. Unfortunately, the incineration also hurts Will, and I don't mean just a little. That boy's in bad shape. And that's where episode 5 of Stranger Things 2 ends. The next 4 episodes will finish out the season and give us a whole lot more kills to count, so don't you worry. I'll look at that on Friday, along with giving you the numbers and awards, but until then, I'm James A. Janice. This has been the Kill Count.
So I guess
Thanks
we
a lot
doing
for
something
watching
on
this
Friday.
Kill Count. I want to thank some patrons like Jacob Palacios, Noam Orange, Joshua South, Jalen Combs.
I guess we're gonna have to do season 1, part 1, and part 2.
And Eliza. And another huge thanks to Veronica for coming over and doing all
Eventually.
these drawings and putting them up. Great work. We'll be finishing this up on Friday and then idle hands on Saturday. Thanks, everyone. Be good people.
As I said, dude keeps coming out with stuff. That's why I keep reacting to it. He's busy. He's real busy. But that was part 1 of 2, and he said he was going to come up with the next one on Friday. Today is Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So, look, I love Stranger Things. I love sci-fi. I love all that stuff. Me, my family, my kids, my wife, we love all that stuff. But let me know in the comments below if you liked it, if you didn't like it. Have you watched the series? If you haven't, Why? It's good. But yeah. I'm King Sway. And I'll catch you in the next one.